this world today, there are many ways to fall from grace and to go astray. We should realize that in our lives we can make a change for brighter days.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. In the name of Allah, the most merciful, the most compassionate. Dear viewers everywhere on the globe, I greet you with the greeting of peace. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. Peace be unto all of you. I'm reminding you that this episode is a continuation of other episodes that talk about a very important theme of two options. And this is just a symbol of the options that we confront in our life. And I'm reminding you that in our life we face different tests. These tests vary in their degree of difficulty. Some of them are easier than others. Some of them are more complex. Some of them are difficult for us even to imagine that they are tests. But Muslims had been taught by Almighty Allah and His Messenger Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam that this life is a chain of tests. And there are many verses in the Quran that would say that, do you think that this life would pass by you without being tested? This is, we have tested the people before you and we will test the people who will come after you. This life is all about tests. This concept of ibtila is a very essential concept in Islamic religion. It's that we know that we are here to be tested because this is the way to know the difference between the good people and the bad people. If you pass the test, you will be elevated and you will be upgraded to a higher level of test. And if you pass the other successfully, you will be upgraded again and again and again. And this, inshallah, will lead you to higher grades and higher levels in paradise. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to make us of those who pass the test and to be elevated to the highest level in paradise, to Al-Firdaus Al-A'la. Ameen. Not just me, and all the Muslims, and inshallah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will fulfill this to us, hopefully. We ask Him to do this. Now, we have an example. We used to give some individual examples in the previous episodes. Not only about human beings, even about the jinn, not only about the old, but about the young, about men and women, and give many examples. Today I'm going to give an example, a collective example. An example of when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala made His command to the believers at that time of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, that the women were commanded to wear the hijab. This is a very important issue. Because unfortunately, some people nowadays, the seculars and even some weak Muslims who have very limited knowledge, I would say that this hijab or this niqab is a tradition, is a custom of the Arabs, and it was not part of religion. Of course, it's a very big lie. And even in those people who would say that you will find contradiction in whatever they say. You see that few years back, because they got a position, before they got a position, they would have an opinion. But after they got a position, they changed their opinion. We Muslims and Muslim scholars change their opinions, but not based on the position. They change their opinions once they find a strong proof, a strong dalil, a strong evidence. Whenever we get a stronger evidence, we follow the evidence. So this is because we're seeking the pleasure of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We don't change our opinion when we find a position, when we are elevated in a position to be a minister or a head of a university, and because of that we have to pay the price. We don't do that. When the command came to the wives of the companions and to the female believers, they started wearing the hijab and covering the whole thing, their whole body, to protect them. And here is the verse of the Quran that strengthens the iman of every believer, that says, وَمَا كَانَ لِمُؤْمِنٍ وَلَا مُؤْمِنَةٍ إِذَا قَضَى اللَّهُ وَرَسُولُهُ أَمْرًا أَنْ يَكُونَ لَهُمُ الْخِيَرَةُ مِنْ أَمْرِهِمْ. There is no way for a believer, male or female, that whenever Allah decrees something, whenever Allah or His Messenger decrees something, that they would have an option. They would have no choice. If you label yourself, if you call yourself a believer, so all the time you are directed to option number one. I even don't look at option number two. So when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala commands a believer or His Messenger commands a believer to wear a lihya, to wear a beard, he has to do this. He would never ever think of the other option of shaving his beard. Whenever a female believer, a sister, is commanded by Almighty Allah to wear the hijab, to cover her beauty from the eyes of the wolves that are in the street everywhere, she has no other option. Nowadays, and it has been going on since the time of the Prophet ﷺ, there's a lot of pressure on women that they would change. The psychological pressure, the social pressure from, sometimes even from the husband. He would say, why do we do that? Because his iman is shakeable, and he does not have the full iman that a Muslim has. He sometimes would argue, would say that, I love to see you doing this, wearing this. Yes, you can love her to do this and that in or at home, but not when she sees other foreign people. Sister, here we know that this is psychological and social pressure, and sometimes even economic pressure or financial pressure. Yes, but it's still, we select this option because Allah has selected this option for you. The day when you promised Allah, the day when you signed a contract with Allah and you said that I am a Muslimah, and the day you said that La ilaha illallah, and this La ilaha illallah, that every day you confirm it and you emphasize it and re-emphasize it day after day, it tells you, it reminds you that you have no other choice as long as you are a believer. If you are a non-believer, you have the choice. But once you submitted yourself to Almighty Allah, you don't want to disobey Him. Sisters, we know that this is the situation. You're not in this life to please your husband, but you are in this life to please Almighty Allah and His Messenger, because He's the most important being in this life. And now we knew that these pressures is a thing that tries to deviate us from this option of selecting option number one to selecting option number two. But it fails with strong belief. And that's why you will find different ways. You see the magazines with all these fashions of hijab, even to try to change it from the original hijab. Allah will ask you about the original hijab. He will not ask you about the fashion hijab that's here and there that shows more beauty than it should, because the conditions of the hijab, it should cover the beauty. It should cover the body of the woman. It should not describe it. You know that. You know that. But we know that there is a lot of pressure from the media and from the magazines on you and from your group, your peer group. We know that there is a lot of pressure for you. But still, all these pressures would not equal staying in paradise 1 second or 1 minute. You know, there is something very great that's waiting for you there and waiting for me. Hopefully, inshallah, I will have access to it. I've read one article one time from a secularist writer in the Arab world. He was trying to make pressure on women who wear hijab, and he was trying to say that this hijab, that because the hijab at his time was spreading very much as it is spreading nowadays, he was saying that I'm quite sure that it is a fashion. And because it is so beautiful, it will continue for longer time than other fashions. However, I am quite sure there will be some time that it will disappear gradually after a long time. you can see the false statements that he's trying to make to put pressure on this one. So he's trying to say that it is a fashion. It is not a command from Almighty Allah. Of course, he did not spell it out, but this is the implication. It's a very clear implication of what he said. So this caused some problem. And he was saying that it is a fashion. And I love to see women wearing hijab. You see how those people lie and try to change the truth by using beautiful words to convince the people in front of them. And he said, I'm quite sure that it will live longer than any other fashion, but there will be some day that it will fade out. And on the contrary, what we see now, because of the nature of the iman, the nature of the faith, it is firm faith in the hearts of the people, the women nowadays, who are doing a wonderful job. They are the heart of the Islamic nation. If you raise a Muslim woman, you raise a whole society, because she affects her children, she affects her husband, she affects her parents, she affects the people around her. And we've seen, alhamdulillah, not only the hijab is spreading, but niqab is spreading. And not only it is spreading in Islamic countries, now it is spreading in non-Islamic countries. It is spreading in Europe, it's spreading in France, spreading even in Japan, it's spreading in the USA, in all the states of the USA, because this is the religion of Allah. This is the truth, and nobody can fight the truth. I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to make us of those who all the time take option number one, to show obedience to Almighty Allah from the bottom of our hearts. Ameen. And to keep us to be away from selecting option number two in order to avoid going to hellfire. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. Your presenter, Mamdouh Muhammad.
In this world today, there are many ways to fall from grace and to go astray. We should realize that in our lives we can make a change.